Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Tonight we got a great show for you. We're back with more Buffalo Bill's wild adventures, and we're going to get right into this because we're going to mess around with all the hoopla because we're interested in this story, and we got to remember that Buffalo Bill was with his friend Dave Estes. He was out there looking for gold in the hills. The Indians were out on the plains when he met up with Yellow Bear and saved Eagle Dove Dove, yeah, Eagle Dove, or whatever. The girl. He saved the girl, and he promised the chief that broke his leg and his arm to get back to camp, so before the Blackfoot could come and get him. Yep. So we continue where we left off. We're gonna just put your mindset in years gone by of yesteryear. Close your eyes. Imagine you're listening to the radio or the whatever that back in the day, as great stories were told. Use your imagination to get all of this done in your head. But who doesn't like a good Western? And, some days we just have to get along with from the mind and the body and the thinking, and just rest and relax, have a good old fashioned story. And that's what I'm doing here. We're going to take a break from trying to figure out how to live in this world, let ourselves go a little bit, relax the mind, return to yesteryear, where the Indians were wild and the country was big, and people were savagely living, trying to bring in truth and justice along the way. But it was a time of an adventure, and here we go with an adventure as sure as I can present it to you. So tonight, sit back, enjoy, and we will get on with the show. Let me change this to this, and hope you can read along with me. Okay, we were on chapter 4, Signal for Aid. And let's see, Signal for Aid. I hope you all enjoy this tremendously. 100 lodges ranged on either side of the brook, where it ran slowly through the valley, told of the power of the Yellow Bear. This was his own village, and the occupants of these lodges were just a small part of his warlike tribe. Prominent among the lodges was the large one in which he dwelt. When in the village and before it, on a tall lance floated a yellow cloth with a bear rudely drawn on it. There were many warriors idling in groups. While women were busy about the campfires, a large drove of horses fled in the valley, watched by a party of half-grown boys. Suddenly a woman, tall in stature, in headdress of feathers and with a robe of rich scarlet cloth about her form, came out of the lodge of the chief. She was not a white woman, yet her complexion was very light for an Indian. Her look was commanding, though the freshness and youth had left her. Close behind came 2 young women, one old haggard creature with one eye gone, while the other shone like a fireball. Her coarse, loose let's see. Complexion was light. Close behind her came a young woman and old hair. The strangest of all was a very young and a white girl with rich curling hair of golden hue, blue eyes and regular features, dressed in Indian style a short skirt of cloth fringed with furs, leggings, and moccasins. Her head was bare, only she wore the signal eagle feather, which told her to be a chief's daughter and unmarried. The tall woman stood for a moment outside the lodge of Yellow Bear, and she turned to the young girl and said, "Wanda, the queen of the Blackfeet, will now listen to the dream of Cindidia, the sunflower. Then she will ride to look at Yellow Bear, her chief, and the father of Cindia, the sunflower." "He is not my father. The spirit of dreams came to me and told me that the skin of my father was white like my own, that I have a mother as beautiful as the flowers I love." "The spirit of dreams has been speaking lies to Cynthia, the sunflower. No father but Yellow Bear can claim a smile from her, nor shall any but Wanda call her daughter." The one-eyed hag muttered something, but neither Wanda nor the girl understood what she said. The blue eyes of the young girl flashed out of Huntley look, and the queenly-looking woman, as she said, "The Great Spirit will not lie. The Dream Spirit must speak true words. Not a single tongue I have heard Yellow Bear say that is so true is so. Yellow Bear has said foolish things, and he has dreamed bad dreams. He dreamed that he must go to the land of his enemies, to the hunting grounds of the Sioux, to steal him a new wife. It was a bad dream. I told him he would come back as he went empty-handed. And he will. Were he to bring a strange wife here, the knife of Wanda would drink her blood." The young girl was about to speak when a warrior who had been looking upon to the southeast uttered a shrill shout. In an instant, everyone in the village was attracted, first towards him, then to a pillar of white smoke, which suddenly rose above the hilltops in that direction. In silence, they looked for a few seconds, and then it went out of sight. Then again, the white column rose to view. Then it faded away, and a third time it came into sight. Wanda put her hand to her belt and took out a whistle made from the tip of the antelope horn. This she blew with a loud, shrill call. In a second, the warriors were seen rushing to their lodges to arm themselves, while the guards in charge of the horses drove the herd in where the animals could be ready for use. Wanda herself disappeared into a large lodge. When she came out, she was clad in a short skirt, a hunting jacket of fur, with her limbs encased in leggings, while she carried a gun in her hand and wore a knife and pistols in her belt. As she came forth, she cried, "Yellow Bear has called for help. Wanda will go at the head of the bravest to answer his signal." A yell broke from every lip as Wanda spoke, and a young brave led a large cream-colored horse with a mane and tail of jet-black hue up for her to use. Before she mounted, Wanda turned to her one-eyed hag and said, "Katina, keep thy one eye open. Cynthia dreams too much. She is under the care while we are gone." The old hag answered with a hoarse, croaking voice, "The sunflower will go out of sight of Kinchata." Wanda said no more, but springing aside, the noble horse dashed off with a swift gallop. The warrior in the single column followed at the same pace. Scindia gazed after them a moment and then re-entered the lodge. The one-eyed hag hobbled in after her. An instant later the young brave came up in front of the lodge and looked cautiously around to see whether any was near to notice his actions, advanced to the shield which hung upon the center pole, and made 3 marks upon it with a piece of charred coal. Then he uttered a cry like that made by a hawk and hurried away. He had not been gone a half a minute when Sinja came hurriedly from the lodge, glanced around, and then looked at the shield. A letter for me from a strange friend left in the hollow tree, she murmured as she looked at the marks on the shield. She was brushed by them away with the palm of her hand. The one-eyed hag hobbled out and glared suspiciously at the girl. What did the sunflower come out of the lodge so quickly for? Asked Kachina. Because she wanted to. She is as free as a wind that whispers among the trees. She will go as her will tells her to do. Not while Wanda the Yellow Bear are away will Sunflower go out of sight of Kacha, the one-eyed, said the hag. We will see, cried Chijeta angrily. She blew a small whistle made from slender bone of an antelope leg. The call brought the young warrior who had made the marks on the shield. Red Plume will saddle his horse and mine. Sinja wants to ride, said the girl. Saddle a horse too for Kinchata, called the old hag. Let it be one-eyed, the lame like herself, said Chata scornfully. Fool, rain shall fall in a flood from your eyes for this, screamed the hag. Sinjata laughed to see her eye blaze in furious light, while the young warrior hurried off to get the horses. Chapter 5. Dave S.'s Suspicions. When Buffalo Bill made a sudden halt, seeing a campfire so close, he also cocked his gun for instant use, for he was in rifle shot of the strangers, whoever they were. Dave Estes rode to the front with his rifle ready, while Dove-Eye, now carrying her father's rifle, rode up in a line with them. White men and a rough-looking set, said Bill. A moment later, all about a dozen men sprang up from about fire with guns in their hands. We may as well ride up and take things coolly, for we're in too close range to back out now. So he rode boldly on, while those in front, calling to a couple of men to look out for the stock, stepped up in front of their camp and waited for the scout and his party to come up. They were not regular hunters and trappers, though well armed. Road agents they might have been termed also. They were in number 14, and mostly men of middle age, bearded and long-haired. One only had a different look, and he was the leader. His dress was superior to the rest, a kind of velvet hunting coat reached below his hips, while buckskin breeches met high cavalry boots, on which he wore a pair of silver Mexican spurs. His pistols were ornamented with silver mountings, and his large hunting knife was nearly as long as an artillery sword. He was young, with long black hair hanging in curls about his shoulders, and with a smooth, almost womanly face. Yet his dark, sharp eye, his firm, close-set lips, and his air of command told even before he spoke that he was a person of firm, resolute nature, and that he held the rest under control. Which way, strangers? He asked in a bold, authoritative tone. We are bound east to the village of this wounded chief, said Buffalo Bill, pointing to Spotted Tail. He holds his hindquarters on his headquarters. He holds his headquarters on the Bighorn. If you know where that is. I only know that is now down on the map. I traveled by, said the other. I knew these parts though I've been over the plains twice. I should think you were. I should think you were. Knew, or you'd be careful how you camped in the heart of a hostile Indian country. Why? You're too you're two whites and are friendly with the Indians, or is the girl held captive by you? No, they are old friends, because it is a chief. No, they're old friends. Chief's favors. Scalps would be in demand if you were, or I meant any other, the tribe or the Blackfeet. They get more lead than hair from my party, said the other, or lead than hair. As you can go any further before night, set in camp, and we'll treat you as well as we can. Buffalo Bill did not like the looks of the party, but it was the best way to keep friendly terms with them if he could. We'll camp near you, but we meet along and need no help. All right, stranger, said the young man. Then turning to his own men, who crowded rather close, he said, fall back to camp, men. The men obeyed as under good discipline, but Dave Estes noticed that they almost to man gazed and looks of admiration at the Indian girl. Buffalo Bill rode on about a couple of 100 yards above and halted on the stream. We'll pitch camp here and let our horses rest, he said, addressing Spotted Tail. Long Rifle knows what is best. Spotted Tail trusts Long Rifle and Little Brave. We'll take a good care of you as we know how, said Bill, dismounting. Now he unfastened the chief from his horse and, aided by Dove Eye, who spread out blankets carefully, laid him down under the branches of a tree, and Dave Estes picketed the horses to grass close at hand, gathered a dry fuel, and kindled a fire. Spotted Tail spoke a word of warning about this, but Buffalo Bill pointed to another fire and to the full moon just up, and said, it will add to our comfort and not increase our danger. Dove Eye at once began to cook supper, and Buffalo Bill took from his own stores some coffee and hung a small camp kettle full of water over the fire to boil. While these preparations were going on, the leader of another party came over. Got all you want here? He asked. Yes, thank you. All we need, said Buffalo Bill. You're an old hand in camp life. Yes, born and brought up it, answered the other. Yes, use good language, have better manners than the trappers I met before. Good manners, like measles, are easy caught. I've been a great deal with educated men, army officers, and others, said Buffalo Bill. It is very easy to be a gentleman when one knows how. What might your name be? Asked the stranger. I've got no reason to conceal it. My father's name was Cody. I've earned the name of Buffalo Bill. The stranger started. You were born in Kansas. Your father was killed there, he said. Yes, by border ruffians. I've wiped out the debt, said Buffalo Bill grimly. Yes, I've heard of you before, said the stranger, but I expect to see a different man, a giant in stature and a demon in looks. Buffalo Bill smiled as he answered, I'm only harsh when it was forced on me. Since you know my name, what might yours be? Boyd. Without any preface, said the other. I left that when I took command of camp gang over there. You can call me Captain Boyd for the little time we are likely to be together. All right, Captain Boyd. I may as well tell you that an early start on whatever route you mean to take, and a care of hide your trail, will most likely keep you out of the nasty Indian fight. We expect a band of Blackfeet after us, and should they strike your trail, they'd strike hard for your hair as well as your horses and weapons. Thank you for a warning. Why do you expect that they will follow you? Because I rescued the daughter of Spotted Tail, that wounded chief from Yellow Bear, a leading Blackfoot chief, this morning. I wounded him, but he got away. As soon as he can rally his warriors for support, he'll come. She is good looking for a squaw, said the young captain carelessly, but I'm not fond of women, so I seldom cast second glance at them. They're at the bottom of 2/3 of my troubles that men get into and steer clear. That sensible mother Dave Estes, who now came in and joined the group. I used to do it. Dove Eagle came from the fire where her meat had been cooking nicely, and told Long Rifle, as she invariably called Buffalo Bill, that supper was ready. Join us, Captain Boyd, said Buffalo Bill in curious tone. Thank you. No, I suppose. I came over to ask you about the country ahead and the best route for me to take. Come around after supper and I'll tell you what I can. What is he? Asked Dave Estes. When the young leader went back to his men, your eyes can tell you in as well as mine can. He doesn't say. By the time the Dove Eagle had her supper, served on fresh bark plates, Buffalo Bill took off his hot coffee to add to her fare. After supper, Buffalo Bill was joined by Captain Boyd, who came with a map. He had been traveling by for an hour or more. The two talked about the country and the trails. Then Boyd went to his camp, and the scout lay down to sleep till the mid-watch came on, for Dave had agreed to take turns and stand guard. The campfires had burned low, and all was quiet when Dave Estes woke Buffalo Bill to take his turn as sentinel. Do you keep any watch over there? Asked Buffalo Bill, glancing toward the other camp. None that I can see. Nothing has moved but the stock since I've been on watch. Such carelessness deserves to lose their hair, said the scout. You'll not have over 2 hours sleep, Dave, so drop on your blanket at once. Dave lay down in the embers of the campfire while Bill went out to change the picket pins of his horses to the fresh grazing ground. On approaching Powder Face, he found the animal with his 4 feet planted close together, his head low bent till the nose was close to the ground, and his ear pointed towards the west. Buffalo Bill had seen the animal in that position 3 times before, and he had each time learned a lesson. Twice he had been attacked by Indians before the dawn, and the third time a column of mounted troops making a night march past his camp before daylight. So there's danger in the wind, old boy, said he to the horse. The animal, with almost human intelligence, raised its head and, glaring off into the moonlight, snuffed the air. Buffalo Bill did not pass these signs unheeded. He at once took up the picket pins of all the horses and led them to the camp. Dave Estes was not yet asleep. Saddle up, Dave, saddle up. I think there's danger close at hand. An hour earlier start will do no harm at any rate, said Buffalo Bill in a low tone. Spotted Tail and Dove Eagle were awake in a second more, and Buffalo Bill, without speaking his convictions that the enemy was near, said that he had made up his mind to an early start. It's less than 5 minutes. The four were mounted and ready to move. Dave led the way and kept in the shadows of the timber, cried Buffalo Bill. It will overtake you in 3 or 4 minutes. Why does Long Rifle stay behind? Asked Spotted Tail. To put out the fire and make a false trail, said the scout. But he had another and nobler pursuit. While feeling that his danger was creeping up, he would not go off and leave the other party strangers, though they were within death's creep up to surprising them. The moment Dave rode on, followed by Spotted Tail and Dove Eagle, the scout turned towards the other camp. The animal, for a wonder, seemed too averse to go. It seemed to feel that peril was at close hand, and abstinently tried to turn in the direction that the others were going. Buffalo Bill, angry at this persistence, drove his spurs deep into the flanks of the noble animal, and it bounded swiftly towards the camp of the strangers. Almost at the same instant, the scout was made aware of the danger which the animal strove to keep him out of, for it bounded on and nearly leaped over an Indian who was creeping along the grass, and Bill saw not only this but a dozen more to his right and left, and knew that in a larger band was surrounding the camp of the sleepers. To think that an act were with him one and the same thing, to ensure the safety of Dove Eye, Spotted Tail, and Dave Estes, he would ride in the opposite direction from that taken by them, dash through the camp of the sleeping strangers, wake them to resistance, and make good his own escape up to the river by the crossing it. With a wild yell of warning, fire right and left with his revolver, and sending two red men to their last sleep, he drove madly through the camp of Captain Boyd as he went up and shouted, "Up to arms! The Reds are all around you!" The next he was aware that another horse was close behind his, and he dashed forward over another line of Indians, all now yelling and firing. He turned and saw that the Indian girl, Dove Eye, had followed him and was close by his side. "Ride, girl, ride, as you've never rode before," he shouted. At the same instant he saw a dark mass of horsemen directly in front, and by the spears bristling in the air he knew that the main body of the mounted Indians were afore him. "Turn, turn, and follow," he cried to Dove Eye, and he wielded Powder Face directly to his left, into the thick willows which fringed the east river bank. Dove Eye turned as quickly as he did, and the two went crashing through the brush, and in a few seconds both horses were in the stream, swimming for their other shore. Meantime, a terrible fire from the breech-loading guns of the white party told that they had been aroused in time to make a deadly resistance, and answering yells and rapid shots of the Indians indicated that it was a battle for life on the one side, for scalps and plunder on the other. The excitement favored Buffalo Bill and the Indian girl in their only plan to get away. Buffalo Bill paused scarce a second after crossing. He only took time to change his needle gun for a Henry rifle which hung at his back of his saddle, so that he could have more than one shot ready if pursued, and said in a low tone to Dove Eye, "Keep close to me. I shall keep under cover and follow the river. If only do not strike the trail of your father and my mate. We will join them below." "I will follow Long Rifle leads," said Dove Eye. "Ah, what is that?" cried Buffalo Bill, and an instant later, as wild, peculiar shout by a succession of Indian yells reached their ears. "Spotted Tail, my father, is a prisoner of the hands of the Blackfeet," said Dove Eye mournfully. I know his cry," she continued, "and I understand theirs." He turned to look at Dove Eye, who he could not help following Long Rifle, "and has been captured. He is a big chief. He will die by fire." "Not if I can help it," said Buffalo Bill. "He has checked his horse. You are but one. You can do nothing," said Dove Eye sadly. "But I can't let Blackfeet have things all their own way. Hear 'em yell? They've wiped out or captured the party of white men, for the firing has ceased. Girl, will you obey my wishes?" "Dove Eye will do all he tells her to do." Dove Eye will Then Dove Eye ride while you can, swiftly down the river, close under cover of the trees, till you reach the great bend below. Ride directly toward the first peak, which you will see where the sun rises. Keep on the stop as little as you can till you get to Fort Thompson. There you will find a young chief, a pale face with long hair like mine. His name is General Custer. He has warriors and horses, and when he is told that I am in trouble, he will not rest till he reaches me. No, now go, for I shall stay to watch the Blackfeet and try to save your father." The Indian girl hesitated, looking up pleadingly his face at his face. "Do not tell Dove Eagle to go away from you. Alone I can hide and watch those demons and see where they go and what they mean to do." Dove Eye could not help being this. "The Blackfeet shall not take me. When Dove Eye comes back with the white warriors, she will find and talking papers in the camp we left yesterday, and will give news to the long-haired general. Now go, Dove-Eye. Dove-Eye sighed, but she turned her nose down the river, and in a few seconds was out of sight. Buffalo Bill now led his horse into the water, into the edge of the thicket, and followed the stream for several 100 yards. Went up against the current so as to leave no trail. Then, at a spot where the hard, shelving rock would receive no impression, he held the horse out, secured him to a thick grass nearby, and stood listening to the noise made by the other bank of the river by the Indians. He soon became satisfied, and then he had several prisoners in hand, and were looking for more. He could hear them riding up and down the stream. He felt sure their search would be keen and enduring when Dove-Eye and he were not found. If her trail was taken, nor nothing but the fleetness of his horse and an endurance could save her. For beyond the great bend she had an open country of at least a half-day's ride to cross, where it was almost impossible to hide and equally impossible to avoid leaving a trail. As to him, Buffalo Bill knew his peril, but he had to be often in such scrapes to feel bad about it. All right, we are going to end right there. So there we go. Well, that didn't beat all. Holy cow, people. That was a long one. Sorry for being so long, but couldn't resist that. Well, we'll be back next time with chapter 5 or 6. This is 6, chapter 6. Red Plume's Track. Red Plume's Track. So join me here next time where we find out what is happening. Will Dove-Eye make it to the fort and get General Custer to come help Buffalo Bill? Will the Indians put fire to the chief? Well, we'll only find out if the Blackfeet win or not. Okay, with that, remember, go out and be the frequency you want to receive. I love you all, everybody. Peace.